Thank you, Mr President. I rise today to speak on the Clean Coal Administration Amendment Bill 2011, and like my colleague Dr John Kay, who stated previously, this bill makes two rather minor changes to the bill: the change of name and the change of appointments. And there's a lot can be gathered out of just the change of the name. The Coal Innovation New South Wales from the Clean from Clean Coal Council. Now, the issue there is it's recognition by the government that clean coal has really been one of the great astroturfing exercises in the history of sort of modern politics. And
that's a good one, Jess.
Well, astroturfing, that's greenwashing, and what it's really done, it's just been a monumental destruction and distraction from the real issue of decarbonising our economy. So it'll be up there with light cigarettes and all the rest of it. Those things were industry. Country Labor, light cigarettes, moderate Liberals, all of these things. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, liberals. When really, we know the truth. But as the Green spokesperson on mining, I'm particularly concerned with the government, investment in technologies that allow for the continued expansion of coal mining throughout the state, further impacting on already affected communities. With consideration of the rising energy demands of this state, it is important that investment in the energy sector is carefully considered with regard to effectiveness, and effectiveness is the key here. Technologies like carbon capture and storage that seek to capture emissions from coal-fired electricity generators and bury them deep underground has proved to be a lengthy and costly distraction that remains unproven with regard to commercial viability. And we've heard from Dr Kay that there are no examples really in the world that we can point to where this technology is commercial, is proven, and is going to...
So we just should give up?
Well, in actual fact, yes, we should give up on coal-fired power generation. We should move away from coal-fired power generation. We should move to renewable. Exactly, mate. I'd like to acknowledge the interjection. I'd like to acknowledge the interjection of the honourable member here. We should give up on coal-fired power generation. We should not tomorrow. We should make a transition. We should make a transition now, and we are making the transition. We may be getting the honourable members over there may be making that transition slowly, glacially, getting dragged, kicking and screaming into the 21st century. It's not 1880 anymore. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but the government's initial commitment of $100 million over 4 years to the Clean Coal Fund has proven to be a distraction, allowing the industry to continue expansion throughout the state, with projects including the Cobra Coal project, all of those coal mining projects that are on the books before the minister now. And this flies in the face of the interests of an economically and environmentally sustainable state committed to a clean energy future. And once again, Dr Kay, an expert in the field, has outlined the jobs, the opportunity loss, the opportunity cost of not investing in renewables. And we only have to look at, as Dr Kay said, the FutureGen project in the United States, the Munmora, capture and release project that has been a spectacular failure. And in actual fact, if you look around the world, there's been an enormous amount of money pumped into these projects with very little result. In actual fact, the only CCS projects that have had any value whatsoever have been related to natural gas, conventional natural gas, and nowhere has this technology been proven to be viable in the long term. And that's being recognised here. This government is recognising that CCS is astroturfing, it's greenwash, it's
water.
That's it. That's right. And I'm sure it'll grow fantastically with all the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. But look, the CCS industry proposed, and first proposed in 1986, is slowly disappearing off. It's shuffling off. Ralph Hillman recently from the Australian Coal Association was bemoaning the fact that the federal government, has pulled by some estimates, $470 million out of the fund. They're recognising that clean coal is going nowhere. So that's what this government and other governments are recognising, and the people of New South Wales are recognising, because they are demanding a safe and sustainable energy future for their state. Carbon capture and storage can be seen as a clear attempt by the industry to prolong and justify their existence. However, and importantly, interest in unproven technologies like carbon capture and storage are also an indication that the coal industry is aware that it is unable to continue to operate as it does. It's recognising, as with coal seam gas, which doesn't have a social licence.
If they try and fix something, they're in the wrong.
No, sometimes things you can try and fix some things. Sometimes you should just let them.
Don't do anything.
Yeah, well, that's right. Let it go. Make that transition. That's what it's about. It's why we don't burn whale oil anymore. I bet you in the 19th century in Tasmania, when they were saying, we think the whaling industry is unsustainable. And everyone's saying, "Oh, how ridiculous! Look how many millions there are," and we'll keep burning whale oil. I bet you there was people in that Parliament in Tasmania back then saying, "We'll be ruined if we stop burning whale oil." And what we've moved on, and no one's saying that we don't have a sustainable and healthy community because we're no longer burning whale oil, and I think the whales appreciate it too. So we have to move on, and carbon capture and storage is it's an indication that the coal industry is aware that it is unable to continue to operate as it does. It doesn't have the social licence. And one of the key things with the carbon tax is the coal industry will have to actually be accountable for all its emissions. And already we're seeing the Minerals Council, crying about the fugitive emissions from coal mines being properly assessed. They're saying it's going to be too hard. It's too hard. Don't bother to worry about the fugitive emissions, but they're going to have to pay for those fugitive emissions, and they're going to have to pay us. And that's the good news about the tax.
Fugitive from the Minerals Council.
Yeah, that's right. I am actually. And now, at a time when governments around the world are making genuine investments in zero carbon technologies, some people are. I heard on Q&A the other day, Tom Switzer, and you'd be a big fan of him, the Honourable Mason College, yes, was saying that no one else in the world, none of our trade competitors are acting to decarbonise their economy. No one. What a statement. What utter rubbish. So there we go, the ideologues on the right, in complete denial about the future.
What are they doing?
They're decarbonising their economies. Well, they're doing.
Wonderful targets. What are they doing?
You should know. Yeah, that's right. Now, at a time when the governments around the world are making genuine investments in zero carbon technologies, our government should seek not only to amend the terms of this bill, but which states its purpose is to lower emissions, but rather this government should seek to support and invest in zero carbon technologies. Research has been completed in Australia that shows that proven, reliable, renewable energy technology is commercially available. And elsewhere in the world, we have seen Spain last month produce uninterrupted clean energy with storage capacity from its new Gemma solar power plant. So there you go. Maybe you should get over to Spain and have a look at what they're doing there. Yet this government continues to look to methods such as burying emissions from coal-fired power underground. Carbon capture and storage is an unproven technology that requires emissions to be pumped deep underground through aquifers into the rock strata and those rock layers. And we don't know what the long-term impacts of that are. Just with coal seam gas, it's a bit of a suck it and see approach. Now, as the communities around this state, yeah, it is a technical term, but it's the technical term the government's applying. Now, as communities around this state stand united against the threat of the rapidly expanding coal seam gas industry, an industry that has the capacity to impact on underground water as it drills through aquifers to extract gas, we have a government putting millions, if not billions of dollars into technology that has the potential capacity to further interfere with the safety of our underground water resources. Now, I commend the Minister on his acknowledgement of the term clean coal as a misnomer. This is true, and Dr Kay said it was an oxymoron, and it's true.
Like Country Labor.
That's the implication that any amount of research would be able to discover a way for coal to burn without emissions is indeed false. Coal will never be clean. We just have to clean it up, and it's the effort we're going to have to go to clean it up. You know, clean coal is certainly misleading at best. Now, emissions from coal-fired power are dirty and dangerous, and this bill should seek to address the actual effectiveness of efforts to make clean an unsustainable high pollutant such as coal. Rather, this bill seeks to simply rename the council as Coal Innovation New South Wales and change the terms of reference from clean coal to low emissions coal. These amendments highlight the inadequacy of the government's efforts to genuinely engage in the concerns of the people of the state with regard to ongoing impacts of mining in their communities. I note the Minister's acknowledgement that solar and wind-based energy in our energy generation mix contributed just 3.8% of New South Wales energy generation in 2010. I also note the Minister's acknowledgement that coal-fired generators currently emit 63 million tonnes of greenhouse gases annually from burning coal. I point out that this is an area of opportunity for the government to refocus its efforts with regard to the state's energy requirements. The people of the state are calling on the government to show leadership in their decisions around innovation and investment in the energy sector. The people of the state are looking for their government for the provision not only of jobs but of safe jobs, and not only for a boosted economy but a sustainable one. And earlier, the Honourable Member Marie Fakara was mentioning NASA, and I am a big fan of NASA, and I think it's well, NASA and other American agencies are a wealth of information on what's happening to our atmosphere. Now, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration put out a State of the Climate address. They put out it routinely, and one of their recent observations was that there hasn't been a month where the average temperature, the average global temperature has been below the 20th century average for 316 months in a row. For 316 months in a row, the average monthly temperature globally, that's the atmosphere, the land and the sea, has been above the 20th century average. So those rabid leftists at NOAA are saying that there is,
compared to the medieval global war.
Mr. Dungeons and Dragons over there, who's worried about medieval. Look,
well,
don't worry, the dragons are coming. Look, in concluding, I point out you should... Noah, have a look. Yeah, okay. I know. Someone should get their hockey stick. In concluding, I point out that amendments to this bill are merely superficial and that the work of the established body... Yeah. The amendments to this bill are merely superficial, and that the work of the established body that this bill references has been a costly distraction from the genuine investment in innovation and technology to transition away from heavy polluting industries as the dominant suppliers of energy to this state. Further, I note that the body this bill references has proven not to meet its end in demonstrating a technology that has the ability to successfully and significantly lower emissions from burning coal, but rather that investment in technologies with such aims has provided an opportunity for the coal mining industry and the coal seam gas industry to continue expansion across the state to the detriment of the people of New South Wales. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.